You're listening to the No Gray Areas podcast with Patrick McCullough. Today's guest is Tim Kaiser, worship pastor at Mission Community Church. Tim breaks down the process of realigning ourselves back to what we used to be. Let's dive in.
Tim Kaiser, welcome to the No Gray Areas podcast. We've known each other for a few years now, and you have kind of an eclectic background. Like you would call yourself a musician, right?
Yeah.
Is that, if someone said, what do you do? What would you say? How would you respond to that?
Yeah, man, I do music full time.
You do music full time. But you're not, I've worked with a lot of musicians over the years. You're unlike any musician I've ever worked with. You know, so that's what I mean by eclectic, right? Like you're an outdoors guy, big time, right? You love to hike and shoot and all this stuff that you grew up. And you grew up, you did body work on cars, right? So you had just interesting background. But when we back up, you've worked in churches for quite a while with the music. So you were actually part of one of the fastest growing churches in America up in Michigan for a while, right?
Yeah.
242.
242 community, yeah.
Prior to that, you and your wife were on staff at a bigger church up in Michigan. Was it Michigan?
Yes, Oak Point.
Yep. And that was a huge healing time for you and your wife, right? Like you guys went through a lot of stuff that
one of the best.
Just from your growing up years, and And then you came down to Phoenix area, and that's where you and I started working together, and we worked together for a couple of years, and we had some bumps in the road during that time, not between you and I, but we'll leave.
It happens.
We'll leave that out. That's part of life. It's part of life. Yeah. But we have some wounds that we carry together because of that.
Yeah.
But what we wanted to talk about today is you said something this morning when we were talking prior to turning these on. You said, we stop spending time getting to know who we are. We stop spending time getting to know who we are. What did you mean by that?
Yeah, when I said that, there's a lot of like different landing places for that thought, but I go back to just being a kid. Like when I was a kid, when you were a kid, you were a good boy or a bad boy, right? Like you had people reminding you, no, you're sweet. Oh, he's such a sweet boy. He's such a good boy. Oh, he cares for people. He's always you have that. And then somewhere along the way in life, all the things start to happen. We start to care what other people think. And that's what I mean when I say that. It's when we care about what other people and the world projects at us. Those are the things that then we start running after, and we lose who we are, and we stop. We actually stop, I believe, spending time and taking time for ourselves. Yeah. Take a break during the day, go take a walk, go take a hike, go ask yourself those questions again. I had an interesting conversation with a friend. I said, hey, what's your favorite color? Purple. This is a dude.
That's what he said.
That's what he said. Yeah. And he's upper 30s. He's not a young dude. He's middle age, and he's like, purple. And I'm like, awesome, man. Why aren't you wearing purple? And he was like, it's kind of girly, isn't it? And I'm like, do you like purple? Why do you think it's girly? Why do you think it's girly to wear purple? Purple is because of what other people think. Yeah. And that's what I mean. So when I say that, we just lose ourselves so easy today. There's so many things.
That's so good, Tim, because I've often thought you watch a kid from about birth until about 5 years old, and they will learn more in those 5 years than any other time. And they'll learn a whole language. They're learning social skills. They're learning how to walk. They're learning all these things. And part of it is they're not worried about perception, are they? They're trying things, and if they fail, I tripped and I fell. They're not looking around.
It's not even real to them.
Yeah. So we start caring where you're saying that we stop knowing who we are is because we start caring more about people's perception.
Too much.
Yeah.
Too much.
Yeah. And then perception becomes reality sometimes, right? Or we think it does.
We think it does.
Yeah.
We think it does.
Yeah. But the reality, the truth is it's not reality, right?
It's not reality.
Yeah. How do you fight against that? How do you think we fight against that?
The word is discipline. Like for me, I go back actually before discipline. It starts at values. Like for a guy like me, I'm sure we'll get into it. We have a bunch of kids. Like life is awesome. Yeah. For us.
Okay, let's pause right there for a second because people do need to know that about you. Yeah, you don't have 2 or 3 kids. How many kids do you have?
We have 7.
You have 7 kids.
Kids.
And they're basically their oldest are around 17, 18 now.
Yeah. So getting ready to be 19 will be our oldest.
Yeah.
And
so
our
19
youngest is 3.
19 down to 3. Yeah. So you and Tess are not bored at all, right? You guys
we are
stay
not bored
busy.
at all.
Yeah.
At
okay.
all.
So in the midst of that, you have these kids, and you're probably trying to get them to understand this truth,
Absolutely.
right? Because man, you talk about a time in your life like junior high school years where you start buying into that lie that perception is reality, right?
Yes.
So go on.
Yeah. So
You're talking about values.
We talk about this stuff all the time with our kids. I just had a conversation with my oldest daughter the other day in the garage, just working on something and just reminding her, who she is. Values. It all comes back to that for me. If you sit down, and this is what I don't think people do enough today, just sit down and go through what you value in life. Who do you want to be? Who's someone that you look to that you want to emulate something out of their life? The conversation we were having was, do you want to be a good parent? What does being a good mom look like to you?
Yeah.
What does health look like to you? Yeah. Is it working out every day? Is it going on an occasional run, a hike? But know your values.
Yeah.
When you know your values, now the next thing is it's going to take some discipline to achieve those things. They're not just going to come overnight. And what I believe is true is that we have so many things to look to our left, to our right, perceptions everywhere. Yeah. We're not running out of a supply of perceptions anytime soon. And I think that it's there that when, for me and Tessa, when we raise our kids, these 7 kids that we have in our home, is we want them to leave knowing their purpose, living in their purpose from within their values, not all these other perceptions.
Okay, so one of the things we talk a lot about on No Gray Areas is living on purpose for a purpose. So you're touching on something that's perfect there.
Nice.
Where you're saying you want to help them live for purpose, but that's tied to values again. That's what you're saying. How's that tied together? Like when you say that?
Yeah, so it starts so what I would say is, it's kind of embarrassing to tell. But my wife, one of her favorite stories that she loves to tell about our high school days is I just didn't care to be around people that just cussed all the time.
Yeah.
Like it just did something for me, right? Like it brought me down. Like I just walked away feeling not good, right? Yeah. Positivity is what I craved and encouraging. And so I dated this one girl, cheerleader, like super, super popular.
Yeah.
Heard her talk one time at her locker with her friends, broke up with her. It all
because
comes
of
back.
your value. You had a value that was different.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
She could be the most popular person, the most, the whatever. Everybody else wanted to believe. And I just went, that's more important to me.
Now, we've been friends long enough. I know you can hold your own with that.
No, that's my wife. Okay, that's Tessa. She's the same.
Okay. So, but I see what you're saying. So you back up even into your high school years, which is kind of cool. You and your wife knew each other in high school, right? And dated in high school.
Yeah.
But you had a value system in place that it took one date for you to figure out this isn't going to be the right person for me because they just lived a different value than you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely.
We don't really grow out of that either, do we? Like this whole perception thing, like trying to, like we think it's junior high and high school where we really struggle, but I think as adults, it's the same.
It's the same.
We start buying into what we think is important, and it's just perception, right?
It is.
Yeah. Where does that come from? Where do you think that comes from?
I think we just want to belong, man. Like at the end of the day, I think people want to feel accepted. Nobody signs up to not feel accepted, right? Like
it's true.
Nobody wants to be the last kid picked on the dodgeball team.
Yeah.
It's like, no, don't let me be last. Pick me, pick me 5th at least. Like not you're the last one standing and I have to take you on my team.
Yeah.
And I think we just live there so easily today.
And I don't want to go to, we can go down so many different directions. And every time you and I meet, we end up doing this. We go all these, but that's one of the reasons like picking your tribe or choosing your tribe is so important, right? Because you are going to be valued because of your values if you're in the right tribe, the right group, right?
Yes.
Which is probably one of the things you're trying to teach your
So that's it.
Yeah.
So that's it. The first one that we talk about is values. What are your values? And let's process those together, right? Just don't randomly come up with some wild thing, right? But process them with wisdom. The next piece is, and my kids hear this all the time. The company you keep will determine who you become.
Say that again.
The company you keep will determine who you become.
Yep.
It's just true.
Yep.
Don't try to
any age.
Doesn't matter what age you are. Doesn't matter what walk of life you are in. If you have solid values and you keep the wrong company, those values will eventually mean nothing to you.
Yeah.
And you'll get a whole new set of values, and then you get away from you, and then we could talk for hours about when people go through life, it's why they're always unhappy. It's not about money. It's not about all the things that people see with their eyes. Happiness, those things don't bring happiness.
Yeah.
Right? Happiness comes from within, and so we start at values, and then we go to the company you keep will determine who you become. Choose wisely. That's what we say. Choose wisely.
You talk about alignment too. So you're a car guy, motorcycle guy. So
that
alignment
was tough.
and that's tied to this too, isn't it? Your values and the company you keep.
So if I had to break down when we were talking about that, the process of alignment is so tough for people. Even for me, like when you talk about, the 4 years that we were at this one church in Michigan, that's where the most healing took place, because we were constantly being aligned for years. I explain it like this. What do you drive? What's your car?
A hybrid.
You drive a hybrid. Wow.
I had to throw
That's
that out
such
there.
a girl's. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, care about perception, right? No.
Purple too. Okay,
Great car.
I don't care.
Great car. Yeah,
those are my values.
You are smoking everybody on miles per gallon, right?
Yes.
So
right now I like that.
What is it? A Hyundai? Is it what kind of?
Yes.
That car was designed to be exactly what it is.
Yeah.
When it goes off the road and it gets in a wreck, you bring that car to a shop and it's going to get put on an alignment rack. We're going to start hooking chains to it. We're going to put a measuring system underneath of it to get it back to where it's supposed to be. Its original, what it was designed to do, the thing that it's supposed to be. When we're taking these chains and we're pulling frame rails and you're hearing steel crack and pop, we're heating stuff up, that's the process of alignment. When you do that in your life, that's not
it's not always comfortable.
No one welcomes that. But it's in the discipline of which.
Okay, Tim, this is so good because
it's not easy.
Yeah, and
necessary.
And the difficult thing sometimes is people don't even realize that they're out of alignment, right? Because they've been so focused on people's perception of them. So even when you were talking about you and your wife, and you're at this church for these 4 years, and part of that was bringing you back into alignment. I'm sure though you didn't even realize in some ways that you were out of alignment, right? No. There were some things that were obvious, but as you start putting those chains and going through the pain of it, there was things that came out, right?
For sure. Yeah, we mask it as, I masked that for years as, well, this is just me and my wife in an argument. Like that's all that is. Because I didn't have, it's the second piece. I didn't have the people next to me going, hey, you better knock that off. That's not who you are. That is not who you are.
You were talking about bringing into alignment the way it was meant to be. So when you were using my hybrid car, and talking about how, if I got in a wreck, you got to bring it back to the way it was supposed to be. So when you and your wife went through this process, or any of us go through this process, take me back. What do you mean when you say the way it was supposed to be? What do you mean by that?
For us specifically, in our relationship, right? It's, if you go back to the kid scenario, and man, why'd you stop liking purple? You were such a sweet boy. Why did you turn out this way? Right? Company you keep. For me and her specifically, like I just had to go back to why did we fall in love again? Like, why did I fall in love with you? And go back to all those things. And it wasn't that any of these things went away, or that I forgot them, or that I didn't believe them anymore. It's that every single perception known to man under the sun was taking all my space.
Yeah.
All my space. And so when you stop, what happened was, I can pinpoint it today. I didn't know it then. What happened was I stopped pursuing her. I didn't stop loving her. I stopped pursuing her. Wow. Well, women are designed and created for men to pursue them. They want to feel they captivate you.
Yeah.
Over and over, every day in, every day out. I got busy in this running thing called life, and all the perceptions and all the, I'm fixing this or fixing that, and I'm hopping up on stage to lead this or lead that, and then it's people, and then it's then what? Now I've stopped pursuing her because I have no capacity left. I have nothing,
Yeah. Tim, that probably goes back to, again, what you're talking about with values. At one point in your life, that was one of your highest values, to pursue her.
Highest values.
But then life came in, you got busy, all these other things, perceptions, whatever you want to call it, but then that value slowly shifted, right?
Did.
Which is where, again, I love that analogy that you're using about taking a car, putting up on a lift, and you're like taking chains and pulling things, and you hear metal grinding.
Man, yeah.
It's painful to come back to move back to that alignment, right? But worth it.
So worth it. It's we also say this in our home. Not easy, necessary. It's not easy, but it's necessary. If you want to get there, it's necessary. It won't be easy.
So good. Well, there's a book that when you and I first met, there was a book that a couple of us on staff were reading, and we loved it. And it ties into this too, right? You know which one I'm talking about?
So good, yes.
Right?
Yep.
Extreme Ownership by Jocko.
Yeah.
And he was a former Navy SEAL, and he does a lot of consulting now. He's got a podcast that's listened to by many, many people. But this book, Extreme Ownership, we were all buying into it because his whole point is he's saying, listen, if you're a leader, if you're a person of value, if you're a person that wants to make, you have to own. You have to own your junk in your life, the crap in your life, right?
Yep.
So that's kind of what you're talking about again with this, is you're trying to help your kids, but even you, your wife, others, people that you lead on your staff team, to own this stuff, right?
Own it.
So explain a little bit how extreme ownership, values, alignment, how does that all work together?
Yeah, so I've read that book multiple times because it's just like with anything. The more you do it, the more things will stand out, the more that you'll learn. You walk away with a new piece of knowledge, right? And knowledge is power if you apply it to your life. Everything through life, starting at this is where I've landed today at 40 years old. Bro, I'm 40 years old. Like I'm 40 years old. Like 3 weeks ago, I'm 40 years old.
You turned 40 3 weeks ago?
Yes, crazy.
Hey,
crazy.
I'm a decade ahead of you.
So that's right, don't forget it. So out of that book, what I would say is values, the company you keep, all the things. You make things happen and you let things happen. Choose wisely. How that plays out is...
So you're dropping some great one-liners. I got to pause again.
Yeah,
so you said, I don't want the audience to miss that. You make things happen and you let things happen.
Absolutely.
There's a difference.
There's a big difference.
Okay.
There's a big difference. There's a very, very, very big difference. For me personally, in leading my team, if I own every single thing, if I just make every single thing happen, we just had something happen this past week. If I made every single thing happen, well, the team would only be as good as me, right? The team would only be as good as, and then now we can get into trust and all of that stuff, right? But there was a lesson that needed to be learned, and I'm going, oh, well, this is safe. This can happen. I would have done it this way, but he's going to do it that way. I'm going to let that happen.
Yeah.
Because he's going to learn.
Yeah.
Now, if there was something bigger that it had the whole weight of the team, it's hanging in the balance, and it's going to be this, I'm going to go help make that happen.
So you're not saying that either one is wrong, right or wrong.
No.
That both are things, and we have to evaluate and have the wisdom of understanding when we're going to let something happen.
Yes.
And we're going to make something happen. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when it comes to our values and extreme ownership, I would guess that you would say most of the time you're making that happen.
You're making that happen. I mean, I take it with our kids. Like I take it even as far as when one of them says, "I'm just confused." Like they know now, like because we've talked about it enough, but it's repetition. It's until it's belief, right?
Yeah.
And it's did you ask a question? So even my kids, even the kids in my home at the age that they are, they go, if I walk away confused, it's my fault.
Because
I must
they didn't
not
ask
have
enough
asked
questions.
enough questions. And if I got shut down for asking too many questions, that's not your fault. I would say, okay, cool, let that happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I would say to that, man. I think each little piece. As simple as this. Another example. I was looking for something on my desk. I asked for it last week in person. It didn't get delivered, so I called to check on it this morning. And amazing people. Dude on the other line's like, bro, totally my fault. Should have got that. And I said, no. I never sent you a follow-up email. I should have sent you a follow-up email because we just had a face-to-face. You didn't have anything in writing in front of you. That's on me.
Yeah.
I could have let him take the ownership.
Yeah.
But the ownership was on me.
Yeah.
I didn't follow through to make sure I got what I needed, right? Yeah. But I think most of us stop there.
Yeah.
Most of us stop at, oh, no, it is. Hey, thanks for owning that. Yeah. Thanks for owning that. Yeah. When it's, bro, that was me. I should have sent you. I could have sent you an email saying, hey, remember this conversation? Appreciate it, man. You rock.
You and I, we've met and had a lot of conversations over the years, but one of the things that we often talk about is this idea of extreme ownership. And it's so interesting because I think it's what separates us as human beings from the whole animal kingdom, right? Like we're created in the image of God. We are inventors and creators, but the power of choice, it's something we take for granted so often. Like we woke up this morning And you and I aren't some animals running off of instinct today.
Right.
We have choice. We can make things happen today.
Mm-hmm.
We can let things happen today. But really, that idea of making things happen is something that distinguishes us as human beings, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Or should.
Absolutely.
Or should.
It should.
Yeah.
It should.
Yeah.
It should.
But Tim, that goes full circle to what you were talking about at the beginning. When we're just living off of the perception of we start letting life happen, right? We just we quit making the choice of, this isn't my value, I'm not going to do this, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Where do you think? Okay, so we're talking about, you're talking about with your kids. You're talking about just all of us, as everybody listening in the audience, just how we do that. What about when we step into leadership? How does this get messy when we lose sight of when we start living by perception, or we lose sight of values? Because everybody listening is leading at times, right? Like sometimes they're leading at work, sometimes they're leading at home, sometimes they're leading at a friendship. Where does this get messy for us when we lose sight of owning and making decisions and values?
I think it gets messy. I go back to step 2. I think it gets messy when we have too many complacency are the words that come to mind. Complacency is the killer of progress. Like, it just is. And so I think somewhere in life where that gets hard for us as people, as leaders that lead big things and teams and try to fly as high as we possibly can, is when we get to that place and we're just surrounded by people saying yes. For me, that's is where
the danger for leadership, isn't it? Because that's what we want. We want to get people to just will agree with us.
Absolutely.
Because it's more comfortable.
You're doing a good job. You're doing this. And then before you know it, it's there isn't challenge. There isn't. If we're going to the Bible, there isn't any ironing, sharpening iron in that moment. It's yeah. Man, you're doing great. You're doing great. And if you just look back, and this is what I did when we were in Michigan at that point. I looked back. I had a leader look at me and say, if you look back at your life, I bet 5 years ago when you said these things were important to you, I bet it looked really, really different. And if you would admit, I bet today you would say you've lost a piece of yourself. Let's get you back to you. And I think most leaders would do the same. When they get there, man, they've made it to where they have this scenario of they don't have those people. They don't have their 5 strong, that's going, this is who you are, even in this moment. You can let or make that happen. Choose wisely. When they lose that, they're actually losing a piece of themselves if they look back and they're being honest.
Yeah.
So that's where this stuff is so important to me.
Yeah.
It's you, man.
They've lost truth tellers in their life. But I think you're right. If most leaders could step back and look back 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, like this guy that told you to do that, if they were really, really honest with themselves, if they were a truth tellers themselves, they might find that they lost part of their value system. Like, why did you even want to go into being a leader?
Yeah.
Why did you want to help? And a lot of times I wanted to make things better. I wanted to grow things. I wanted to make people become the best that they could be.
Yes.
But somewhere along the line, they lost that. That's what you're saying, that value system. Yeah. Why do you think we do that? Like, why do you think it is? And I say we, because leaders do that for sure. That is the danger of leadership. But we do that as human beings. Is what we're saying. Why do you think we do that?
I think we lose hope. I really do. I think I had a killer conversation with a friend the other day. He's older than me, and we were just talking this whole thing out. And I think that, man, what's the word? Not that we necessarily lose hope, but I think we become a little jaded, maybe. Like that, you know what? This is just people. Like, these are just people. These are just, and we hear all that stuff. Like, we hear all those voices because of the experience that we've had. Like, when I span out over, the 17 years that I've done the ministry versus the body shop, fixing wrecked cars, right? When I span over 17 years, I mean, I've watched my friends go through so much stuff, and they go through so much pain and so much hurt that they slowly just start to put a little wall up, not to guard themselves, but so that they don't have to care as much. There's a big difference. I'm not building this wall to guard me from you. I'm building a wall so that I don't care as much. And they just lose touch of who they are. They lose touch of, no, it is about what's right in this moment for that person and their being and their, but they lose that and they just go, man, this just must be like what it's like to work with people, I guess.
because, and it goes back to what you said earlier, right? Because if I care less, it's more comfortable.
Absolutely.
It's uncomfortable when I care more.
Absolutely.
It's uncomfortable when I get involved in your problems. It's right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it makes me think when we first met. So I was at this organization for a little while. You came down there and started working. And when you talk about uncomfortable, I remember I would ask you, remember this when we would meet every week and I would say, hey, you have outside eyes for a little while. Tell me what you're seeing. And that, I remember that was very uncomfortable for me. And there were several times where I wanted to defend it because you would say, well, this is broken. And I wanted to jump in and say, yeah, but do you know how far we've come before?
How hard I've worked?
But you don't, but that's the thing about, especially when you lead leaders. I mean, you're a leader. That's why I loved working with you. You didn't care how far we came, really.
Yeah.
You just saw something that still needed to be fixed.
Yeah.
But that's uncomfortable to hear.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you're saying that we as human beings and as leaders, we have to make sure that we don't get to the point where we're so comfortable or we lose sight of our values, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So okay, Tim, give us some practical advice. Like, let's just say you're talking, everybody in the audience is listening. We're agreeing with this. Let's just say we're in agreement. We're going, yeah, I can probably see some places where I may have gone off track a little bit. I'm out of alignment a little bit. What would you say we do to get back in alignment? What are some things that we need to do practically?
Go get to know you. Practically, what's that look like? There is, people say, man, there's just not enough time. I just don't have enough time in the day I got all these things I got to do. There's 24 hours in every day. Time is not the thing that needs to shift. It's your priorities. So if you want to get back to you practically, if you want to be who you were, if you look back and you're like, man, I used to be happy. I used to be this. I used to be, and you're not those things, my practical advice is going to be take time to get to know you. Block out the noise of the world on a weekend, or maybe it's an hour a day for you. Going on a walk. For me, it's these early mornings.
You love early morning hikes, don't you?
I do. And I need to get back to more of a routine in them, right? More of a consistent thing in them.
Yeah.
Because we have those busy seasons, which we just, came off one, and we're getting ready to hop into Easter. And so, but that stuff's always going to be there, right? I'm walking that now.
We do have, just really quickly to jump in and talk about extreme ownership. This is the problem, especially in our Western culture, is we use busyness as an excuse.
We do.
There are going to be busy seasons. That's okay. But if your busy season has been going on for 4, 5, 6 straight years, then it's a problem with your priorities, right?
Yes.
And that's what you're saying.
Yes.
So I know this about you because we've gone on some hikes together. You talk, that's where you really connect with who you are. That's where you really connect with God. But you make it a priority. And you may have just had a busy season, but you're back. But you're recommending just figure out what that is, right?
Figure out what that is. If you're a leader, I would say one of the healthiest things. If you're a leader and you have teams under you, or anyone under you next to you, ask them how you are as a leader. Ask them where you can grow as a leader. Ask them where you're not such a good leader, and be willing to listen.
Yeah.
Listen.
Yeah.
And take it as gold, not something that's just, in one ear, not the other. Our pride loves to defend our ego. Yeah. Pride loves to defend our ego.
Ask them, and then shut up.
And listen.
And probably, right, with this, you're probably going to have to ask them many times over a long period of time before they actually feel safe enough to tell you the truth. So it's going to take a while. So true. But when they do tell you, no matter how much you want to defend yourself, you just have to be quiet, or they'll never share again. Yeah. But I love that advice for anybody leader. And this, when we talk about leading, even again, some people listening may go, well, I'm not a leader. Well, sometimes you're leading your friendship. Ask your friends. Ask your spouse. Ask your children sometimes, right? Yeah.
Someone is, and that's I think one of my favorite things to tell people. Someone's always watching. Someone is always watching. It doesn't matter who you are. At the top, at the very bottom, it is on any scale. It doesn't matter where you land in this world. Someone is always watching your life. Someone is. Everybody is. Someone is a leader. Everyone is a leader.
Tim, I hope people are listening closely to what you're saying, because you dropped so many good little one-liners. Someone's always watching.
Always.
So sometimes you're in a checkout line at a store, and you will be leading in how you react to that person who, I don't know. Maybe they're going a little slower than people want.
Castro stopped working. They got to get the manager.
Whatever.
The lights.
Someone's watching how you react.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Always.
Yeah. So I love that practical advice. I think that's a great way for us to end, where you're just saying, for all of us, go take the time, whatever that is, taking a motorcycle ride, taking a hike, taking a walk, just spending some quiet time, but getting to know yourself again.
Yeah, get to know you.
Yeah. Thinking back about what were the values that were important to you. Some of us may have to go way back to dig into that, right? Some may have, I think there's probably some people listening that maybe have to go back decades to try to dig through that.
Yeah.
Would you say it's worth it?
Yeah. Not easy.
Yeah.
It's so necessary.
Yeah.
It's so necessary.
Yeah.
I would say you'll live longer. That's like what I attribute it to. You'll live longer.
Yeah.
You'll live longer, man.
Your relationships will be better. Your relationship with yourself will be better. Your relationship with God will be better, for sure. And I think, again, as we wrap this up, and then I'm going to ask you about 2 truths and a lie in a moment. As we wrap this up, it goes back to the alignment. I love that analogy you used. If my car goes off the road, it's uncomfortable when you get up there and you hear the metal, creaking and all that. But when I get it back on the road, that thing's going to drive a lot nicer if it's in alignment.
Yeah.
I'm going to be fighting it all the time if it's not. So great analogy.
Yep.
All right. So 2 truths and a lie. We do this on, there's no gray areas, and I'm asking to lie, the irony of it. But I've known you pretty well. We've hung around quite a bit for the last few years. So see if you can stump me.
Okay. Out of my family, out of the Kaisers, the Flynn's, the boys, right? They're all military, law enforcement. I'm the only one in ministry. 2, in school, I went to sectionals this is my sophomore year, for swimming. I know I don't look like a swimmer.
Okay.
3, I spent $1,000 on a dime, like 10 cents.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you're the only one in the family in ministry.
Yep.
You went to sectionals in swimming your sophomore year.
Sophomore year.
You spent $1,000 on a dime. I'm going to say the ministry one is true, because I do know a lot of your family's in military and law enforcement, right? Is that true?
Yep.
Okay, that one's true.
Yep.
So I'm going to go with the lie is you're really athletic too. I know that about you. So I'm going to go that you went to sectional. So I'm going to say that the lie is the dime. $1,000 on the dime.
I got you, man.
You did?
I got you, man.
So you did not go to...
I did not.
You're not a swimmer. You don't even know how to swim. You sink when you...
I barely swim. Yeah. My wife has to save me if we get up.
True. Actually, I was at the ocean with you now. I remember that. We were trying to drown each other in the waves.
I will not swim where I can't touch.
Yeah. Well, we were trying to drown each other.
Yes,
that was
exactly.
Fun. Okay, so you did spend $1,000 on a dime.
I should have said I have a 10-cent dime that's worth $1,000 just to me. So my parents spent the money. I was at a camp when I was 11. I think I was 11 years old. I was at a camp, and I went to put my church camp. I went to put my concession money. Like I didn't have enough hands. My Bible, my stuff's on the ground. All the stuff I'm taking with me, and so I put the dime in my mouth to pick up my books. And when I leaned up, I swallowed it. It got stuck in my throat. So for a whole day, I try to hide it. And everything that I'm eating, it just won't stay down. It just
got a dime stuck in your throat.
So, dude, So my dad has to come get me. They're just like, this camp's like, he's being absurd. He's jumping around and going crazy. We don't know what's wrong. Well, I couldn't breathe, and I couldn't hold food down, and I couldn't. And so they asked him to come pick me up. So on the way, on the ride home, I was like, Dad, I got to tell you something. I was scared to death. I was like, I got to tell you something. I swallowed some money. He's like, what do you mean you swallowed some money? I said, that's why I can't eat. That's why I've been acting, because I'll feel it move around and I can't breathe. And I didn't want to tell anybody at camp. And so I ended up going to the hospital. He's like, he calls Mom. He's like, babe, we got to take him to the hospital. So they do an x-ray. They do all the things, and they put me under. They go down with a scope. And like, yeah, sure enough, he had a dime in there just stuck right in my windpipe.
So that was $1,000 in medical bills.
$1,000, man.
Did you keep the dime?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
The dime and the x-rays. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Wow. All right. So you got me. You stumped me. Well, hey, thanks so much, Tim. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
I think I'll leave us with this thought, you said, which is so good, right? Someone's always watching.
Always.
Right? That's such a great thought.
Make it count.
Yeah. Thanks, Tim. Appreciate your friendship. Thanks for leading us.
Thank you, man.
Thanks for listening to the No Gray Areas podcast. To dive deeper into the story, be sure to subscribe, follow us on social media, and check out nograyAreas.com.